is at the Cabinet meeting, Ian Powell pointed out an emission that has a negative environmental impact on the whole area. This is relating to the Bermuda Bridge Connectivity Project, by the way. We have identified numerous errors and conflicts in the studies that were prepared to support the Bermuda Connectivity Project, which has also been omitted from the Cabinet report. Can you commit to review these missing points before funding is approved?
Council does not provide funds for this project. The project is being funded by the County Council and grant from the Local Enterprise Partnership. Concerns raised were raised at our Cabinet meeting on the 3rd of December have been passed on to the County Highway Department to consider. Several more detailed studies will be done by the County Council, who will then prepare initial design drawings that will be consulted on. The County Council and Cabinet will then make a decision on whether to progress this project to completion, which will be concluded detailed design and construction.
Thank you, Councillor. Shall I call on Richard Briggs? Give that question.
My question is, the scope and extent of the traffic modelling for the Bermuda Connectivity Project shown on page 21 of the Cabinet report on the 3rd of December is not wide enough and will significantly underestimate the impact of the scheme on traffic patterns throughout the Arbury Ward. The link road created by the bridge is significantly shorter than the current routes to the A-Triple via Heath End Road or Greenmore Road, and as a result traffic heading towards the M6 will run through Bermuda Road rather than using the purpose-built A445 bypass. Traffic will reassign from Hornchwood Road and Tomkinson Road along Westbury Road, Northumberland Avenue and the Railwoods, and parallel routes to avoid localised junction queues. These new routes are not within the Paramix modelling code, and so the impacts on the Arbury Road will not be considered, and the impacts of the scheme significantly underestimated. Please confirm to the residents of Arbury Ward whether the Council is committed to working with its partners to extend the traffic modelling code and up Tomkinson Road to the junction of Hornchwood Road and Westbury Road, such that the environmental impacts on the residential areas of Nuneaton are fully understood if funding is provided to develop the scheme to public consultation. Thank you.
Thank you. Cabinet member for Planning and Development, they wish to report.
Yes, the County Council Highways Department have agreed to consider the proposal put forward by Mr Briggs when they decide on the scope of the next round of transport modelling. They've agreed to take your point forward to debate.
Thank you, Councillor. Could I ask that Claire Golby ask a question, please? Claire? No? Then we move on to John Lane. John Lane, please.
Do you want to grab the mic? Sorry for this.
John Lane, please.
Please confirm why the Council has provided taxpayers' money to the LEP for the Bermuda Connectivity Project, and that within its own feasibility report notes, construction of the project, construction development, as well as to traffic will produce air and noise pollution and increase road accidents and congestion around the site. The development will also affect residents of Nuneaton due to the increase of pollutants related to traffic emissions. When the LEP have an alternative scheme without the need for the bridge. The LEP report states the scheme achieves its prime objective of addressing all queuing and congestion issues on the A444 at the location. Additionally, the scheme provides capacity for NBBC local plan growth over the plan period up to 2028. The scheme also has sufficient capacity to accommodate significant further growth. Thank you.
Portfolio.
to the LEP is reducing the amount of taxpayers' money needed to complete the scheme. The LEP do not have an alternative scheme, but they have referred to the potential link road that was described in the council's preferred options. This potential road will depend on future developers' contribution. There is no developer interested in that scheme at the moment, and no detailed work has been done on it. Even if the route does go ahead in future, the proposed Bermuda Connector Road will still improve access to amenities by link road, by linking people to jobs and providing access to George Eliot and the new railway station. The Bermuda Connector Road will not go ahead until more detailed studies have been done to assess the environment, safety and other implications. A public consultation will be undertaken by the County Council Cabinet before the County Council makes their final decision on whether to progress the project to completion.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I now, with the Council's indulgence, go back to question 3? Now Claire's had time to settle down and get herself organised. Care to ask your questions, Claire?
As the WCC have identified that the building of a 1,000-block housing estate on Arbury land is a key outcome of the Bermuda Bridge being opened, I'd like to ask why this has not been discussed much and openly discussed with the people of Bermuda and the wider area by both the WCC and NBBCC, along with the agenda of traffic easements and the theoretical 4,000 jobs creation, of which the published information is heavily biased towards.
Thank you. Portfolio holder.
The potential housing site was part of the Borough Council's preferred option consultation took place from the 5th of July 2000 to the 30th of August 2000. This was a major public consultation. No decision has been taken yet about the potential housing site, and there will be further consultation before decisions are taken. The County Council have noted that its benefit on the project will be to improve the road access to the potential housing site at Bermuda if it goes ahead. This project is aimed at supporting job creation, relieving wider congestion issues such as on the A74. It is part of a much wider range of projects that will improve the A74 north and south corridor, including proposed work at Code Arches, connection to the Nuneaton Town Centre, College Street and the Griff Roundabout.
That's not what I asked.
Thank you,
That's
Councillor.
not what I asked.
Can I now move on to
No,
Elizabeth
that's
Sidwell, please?
not what I asked.
Can you sit down, please?
Why
He's
has it
give you
not
an
been
answer.
publicised?
Please sit down. He's give you an answer.
That's not what I asked.
He's
That's
give you
the
an
question
answer.
that I
Please
asked.
sit down.
Rubbish. Rubbish.
Please sit
Rubbish.
down.
Absolute rubbish.
I didn't
Please
ask
sit
that
down.
question.
He's answered the question.
That's not
He's
what
give you
Sit down,
an
sit
answer.
down.
Sit down.
Troubleshooting.
Please sit down.
that I asked.
Please sit down.
I asked why has it not been publicised
Please sit
about the
down.
housing estate. That is not the question that I asked.
He's answered. He's given you an
He's
answer.
answered a different question.
Sit down.
own question. 2 and 2 is 14.
It's in the HL
Can I have
report.
Elizabeth
It's just said
Sidwell,
that there's no developer in the
Elizabeth
city.
Sidwell.
What an absolute
Can the council provide a breakdown by site and employment use of the estimated 4,000 jobs to be created within the Bermuda Park development as an outcome of the Bermuda Connectivity Project?
We expect about 4,300 jobs to be created across Bermuda as a whole. At the moment, we cannot forecast how the jobs will be spread across the area. We expect the type of jobs to be as follows: 1% management jobs, 22% professional technical jobs, 10% administration jobs, 26% skilled jobs, 11% sales and customer service jobs, 12% process and machine operation jobs, and 18%
concerning Bermuda Bridge again. In the Capital Growth Fund business case, it states on the main objectives of the plan is to improve the environment for cyclists and pedestrians, to increase the mode of choice of accessibility. Considering this vehicle-free bridge is already used by cyclists and pedestrians with no traffic on it at all, do you think opening the bridge to all traffic is going to improve the desire and the safety for cyclists and pedestrians to use this route? Give the answer in a week.
The project is expected to include improvements to local walking, cycling network between the East Road, Bermuda Road Junction, Riff Roundabout. The focus is not just on the bridge but on the wider area. The potential improvements include the following. Proposed improvements to George's Way, including the provision of a cycleway and a proposed improvement to the existing shared pedestrian cycle link between the bridge, Barling Way, for the access to Eppingham Building and George Eliot Hospital.
Do you think they'll improve it?
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask Alan Baxter to deliver his question?
Under the provisions of the Council's Constitution, which I'm sure Mr Richardson can provide you with, I would like to move that the issue of the Bermuda Connectivity Project be referred to the relevant overview and scrutiny panel for detailed scrutiny and members of the public to be able to come and give evidence and consider the implications.
He's rushed to get a clap, Mr Mayor. The leader of the opposition forgot that it's actually on the agenda further along.
Mr Mayor, although this object isn't for debate according to the procedural rules of the Constitution, we are entitled as a council to consider anything which is of interest to the borough and affects the residents of this borough. And it isn't about the procedural motion which the council is referring to, it's about the project as a whole, not the actual decision to grant growth funds. Whether or not the growth funds are given, surely this should be considered and scrutinised by councillors of this authority.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can I second that, Mr Mayor?
Thank you. I'll third it and forfeit as well.
Right, we need to move to a vote on this issue without discussion. It's been identified, the motion has been put and seconded, it goes to an OSMP. It's been pointed out that it's already on the agenda, so it's a straightforward vote for the motion or against the motion.
Can I call for a recorded vote, please, Mr Mayor?
Recorded vote has been called for. You can bear with us.
Mr Mayor, I will read out the names of each member in alphabetical order who will indicate if they are for or against the motion. Councillor Beaumont.
Against.
Councillor Bonner.
For. Caroline, trying to stand up.
Councillor Copland.
Against.
Councillor Doherty.
Against.
Councillor Downty.
Against.
Councillor Elliott.
Against.
Councillor Foster.
Shame on it.
Councillor Fowler.
Against.
Councillor Glass.
Against.
Councillor Hancock. Councillor Harvey.
Against.
Councillor Hawkes.
Against.
Councillor Haynes.
Against.
Councillor Hickling.
Against.
Councillor Jackson.
Against.
Councillor Kondaka.
For.
Councillor Tony Lloyd. Councillor Ian Lloyd.
Against.
Councillor Longdon.
Against.
Councillor Margrave.
Against.
Councillor Navarro.
Against.
Councillor Caroline Phillips.
Against.
Councillor Neil Phillips.
Against.
Councillor Pomfret.
Against.
Councillor Tracy Shepherd.
Against.
Councillor Tanby.
Against.
Councillor Taylor.
Against.
Councillor Tromans. For. And Councillor Wilson.
For.
Shame
So
on
that's
you.
what's going to come to it on the agenda further along. Can I now ask Mr Alan Baxter to make his question?
This Medford Borough Council have onwards of 250 housing applications blacklisted and barring people from progressing into social housing within the borough, as the applicants have prior debts with landlords. These people who are already struggling to pay their rent are the very ones that would benefit from the lower rates of rent offered by council housing, which is roughly 1/3 cheaper than commercial private rentals. I understand that one of the aims of the Borough Council is to raise the standard of life in the borough up towards those enjoyed by the affluent south of the county. To do this by forcing some of the poorest and most vulnerable individuals to look for housing outside of the borough seems immoral to me. Neaton Abedworth Borough Council's Housing Department has also told me that the Borough Homeless Hostel is full and that homelessness in the borough is rising. It was also reported in the Metro newspaper the other day that some 500,000 people nationally are at risk of being evicted from their homes in the current year. Given this insidious background of financial hardship and homelessness, I ask you, is it ethical for the Council Housing Department to blacklist the poorest and most vulnerable people in our town?
Thank you. Councillor, Mr. Usman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to make it clear that the Council's housing allocation policy includes no policy or protocol for blacklisting any applicant. What the policy does do is to enable the Council to suspend an applicant if they owe a former rental debt to either ourselves, as a former council tenant, or a former landlord, be it a housing association or a private landlord. The suspension is in place to enable the applicant to reduce the former rental debt to a figure of at least £200. After that point, their application is made live again and allows for the applicant to start expressing interest to properties in the borough whilst reducing their debt further. The demand for social housing is high, and we currently have over 2,000 live applications registered on HomeFront, our system for rehousing. The allocation policy was adopted by members in 2013. It seeks to allocate the limited supply of social housing stock within the borough based on prioritising those in greatest housing need and according to criteria to enable fair and transparent allocations. Those applications that are suspended for either formal rental debts or other breaches of tenancy, for example antisocial behaviour, will continue to receive advice and assistance in securing alternative accommodation, such as that available within the private rented sector within the borough.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I now ask Katerina Sheminsky, if I've done that right, I hope?
Yeah, hi. I'm actually one of... Oh, sorry, not working. Oh, yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm actually one of the 250 applicants on your suspension application list. And I would like to inform you that I was never told about the discretionary housing payment fund until somebody pointed it out to me in a local paper, despite frequently visiting the council house and the CAB office for advice and support on what I can claim to help me pay my rent to Jefferson Housing Association. This was due to me having learning difficulties such as dyslexia and not being able to fill out the paperwork properly on my own. For over a year, I had to beg people for a place to sleep whilst trying to hold down 4 zero-hour contract jobs that would take me over an hour to travel to. Due to the lack of support, I am now on the suspension application list due to the alleged outstanding debts that I have been told by Jane Grant on the phone and not via email or post like I requested, that I cannot make a retrospective claim so that I can provide a permanent home for my son. My son, of whom, when I was carrying and was a high-risk pregnancy, was told by one of your officers that they did not care if I was even living in a boot of a car. My son, who now thankfully is obviously okay, he is actually homeless and a genuine first-generation water gypsy. This is not due to a lifestyle change, but having no other way of me being able to afford to keep a roof over his head. Again, I was told by your staff that they do not support water gypsies in the borough. I would like to know how you are going to help me provide a safe home to raise and school him when you do not help people like me who do not exist. I would also like to know when I'm going to get an apology from the council for the lack of information and support that I have provided me over the last 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jansen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your question. The Council's Strategic Housing and Communities Manager has confirmed that her options team first had contact with you concerning your homelessness situation in April 2012, 2.5 years ago. From this point to the present day, officers of this council have endeavoured to advise and assist in line with our current allocations policy. Over the last 6 months, you've been in contact with housing officers, housing benefit officers, the County Council's Gypsy and Traveller Liaison Officer, and also the planning team, relating to your ongoing assertions
that's
of
me
council.
that's been in touch with them because she can't really...
We'll have no negotiations from the gallery, please. The
I
councillor
won't have to tell lies about what she's done.
Excuse me, on page 23, agenda item number 6, it doesn't actually say that a supplementary question may be asked if arising directly from the reply of the question. And on several occasions here this evening, you have slapped down people who have tried to make a genuine point. Would you like to look at that, page 23?
Nobody has requested the opportunity for a supplementary question.
I would have
Oh,
liked my
sorry.
We didn't get the chance.
Right, carry on, councillor.
You don't want to listen,
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
why.
Mayor. My understanding is that despite being offered temporary accommodation following the birth of your son, which changed the council's statutory duties to you, you have chosen not to take this offer on.
We haven't been offered
That
anything.
offer is still available.
Not being offered.
We've not been offered anything. I've been suspended for over a year.
I would suggest that the lady asking the question makes contact with officers. The advice I have, Mr. Mayor, is that there is an offer of temporary accommodation.
The only offer we've had is if Katrina leaves me in my care
Thank people for their
and lives on her own in a hostel.
And we're moving on now to questions by members.
You're failing people.
Fail people.
Item 7. Can I ask Councillor Hickley this question?
From the election.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The election will be gone.
Is the portfolio
election.
of housing will take the council on the redevelopment taking place on Spinney Lane and North Avenue? Thank you.
Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council does indeed own 45 properties in Spinney Lane and North Avenue. Under the previous subsidy financing regime, which saw this council pay in excess of £5 million to the government annually, we did not receive, frankly, adequate funding to address all of the refurbishment needs of our housing stock. We moved to self-financing in April 2012, and this has allowed us to increase the amount of money we are able to spend on our homes, meaning that we are now able to prioritise those homes that were not built in a traditional way. 45 of those non-traditional homes are in Spinney Lane and Knowles Avenue, and I am pleased to be able to advise the council that those homes have been refurbished and now have, as Councillor Hickley is well aware, new doors, windows, fascias, soffits, guttering, and importantly, external wall installations, which will significantly increase the energy efficiency of those homes and reduce heating bills and costs. All work will be completed before Christmas. We have also attracted funding from the Department of Energy and Climate Change to enable owner-occupiers in Spinney Lane and Knowles Avenue to obtain energy efficiency measures for their homes. The feedback from residents, and indeed I was delighted not long ago to be out in one of those homes, has been overwhelmingly positive, and I'm proud that we have been able to improve the
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can the Leader of the Council explain how much money the Council has made available to residents who are struggling to cope with the effective changes in the benefit system introduced by the current government?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Council has two funds available to assist those residents who are facing financial hardship as a result of the welfare reform changes introduced by the government since April 2013. There is the Discretionary Housing Payment Fund, which is available to help residents who have a shortfall between the amount of housing benefit they receive and the amount of rent they have to pay. The Discretionary Housing Payment Fund is provided by the Department of Work and Pensions, and for 2014-15, Nuneaton and Bedworth have been allocated £221,057. As well as assisting with rent shortfalls, DHPs can also be considered to help with moving costs should residents wish to move to more affordable accommodation. Local council tax support replaced council tax benefit from the 1st of April 2013. It was acknowledged that the introduction of local council tax support may mean some claimants would experience financial hardship due to the amount of council tax they had to pay. As such, a hardship fund was created specifically for those claimants receiving local council tax support. The amount allocated is £200,000. This amount also includes a contingency for an increase in caseload, along with the effect of local council tax support on the council tax collection rates. The authority actively encourages and promotes the take-up of both funds and considers applications on a case-by-case basis. Decisions are based upon the individual circumstances of the applicant, their income and expenditure. Promotion of the DHP and Hardship Fund continues, and we have encouraged people, including with a targeted outreach campaign, to come forward to make the claim. We have specifically encouraged applications from those affected by the welfare reform changes, including those affected by the spare room subsidy. And I can say, Mr. Mayor, that quite a number of people have been helped and continue to be helped who are actively seeking to downsize while the council does not have the accommodation to help them.
Can I ask a supplementary question, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Can I ask a supplementary question to Councillor Harvey?
No.
Why not? Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In response to the autumn statement, the Institute for Fiscal Studies stated that the Chancellor would need to make massive cuts in public spending if he is to carry through his plans on the deficit. Can the leader tell us, then, what re-electing a Conservative government could mean for council services local people rely on?
Mr. Mayor, the main source of funding the council receives from central government is revenue support grant and is used to support the delivery of services. Since the last general election comprehensive spending review of 2010, the council has experienced unprecedented reductions in this grant in excess of 40%. The council has managed these reductions through its medium-term financial planning and annual budget setting processes, and as such, Mr. Mayor, I believe we've been extremely successful, far ahead of most councils in keeping most of our services intact while looking at savings elsewhere. Funding for 2016-17 and beyond is uncertain, but significant ongoing reductions in RSG are assumed, in line with national funding reductions currently of 9%. These reductions have been built into the Council's medium-term financial plan approved by Cabinet in October and represent an anticipated reduction of 1.3 million over the two-year period 2016-17 and 2017-18. The reductions in RSG funding mean that it is increasingly becoming a smaller proportion of the finance the Council has available to support its services, and income from business rates and council tax have become more significant shares of our overall financing. Although I do have to add, Mr Mayor, that we have been able to keep the council tax down in this authority.
There's one way to keep that, get that down. Stop it.
The council must set a balanced budget each year and still needs to identify savings of 219,000 in 2015-16. It's also identified that a further 1.5 million of savings in 2016-17 and 2017-18 will also be required. If reductions in RSG are more severe than those assumed, additional savings will also have to be identified. However, Cabinet have already been working with officers on a 2-year savings plan for 2015-16 and 2016-17 to identify how this gap can be bridged with the minimum disruption to services for local people. The Council is using innovative ways to generate income through the setting up of the Council's trading arm, NABCEL, and working to generate additional income through business rates from business growth in the borough. The outcome of the next general election is likely to have a significant impact on the Council's MTFP, and the assumptions will need to be reviewed early in the new Parliament to ensure we are best placed to meet this challenge. In short, Mr Mayor, and this has been verified by external bodies that Councillor Margrave refers to, electing a Conservative government in the next general election based on this Council's experience since 2010 will clearly be a disaster for local services, and we can only hope it will not happen.
Labour's a disaster.
You're already a disaster.
Can I be quiet, please? Can I ask Councillor Cockcroft this question?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Obviously this question is based upon the fact the borough plan is being delayed. We were supposed to have a working party in November, and that has now been cancelled until mid-January, so we've got a 2-month delay on the borough plan working party, so it's clearly not going to happen for the next 6 months. So, I'm sorry, you had about a quarter of an hour to speak, and I just raised my question.
Can I just point out as leader of the Council that I have correctly, and everybody else has, behaved in accordance with the Council's procedures. I don't shout across the chamber, and I...
You just cut him off.
And people are meant to ask the question that is in front of us.
If you could stick to your question, ask for.
Sorry, sir, I'm just explaining where the question came from.
No, there's no need for explanation. The question is there.
And I did ask the question to the Leader of the Council, not to the portfolio holder when I sent it in. So I asked Dennis Harvey, the Leader of the Council, what is the likely financial cost for each 6 months delay to the borough plan, including officers' costs, the lost community infrastructure levy, income and the planning appeal costs? Thank you.
Mr Mayor, I refer that to the portfolio holder for this area to whom the question should have been asked.
I will answer it because I could certainly answer your first part without any question. To work out any costs associated with civil, income and planning appeals would only be possible if we had the knowledge of the future events. It is therefore impossible to answer this part of the question. Officers are employed by the council, so the cost of their time is already paid for. Their priority is the borough plan, which is put ahead of other work. If any delay in the borough creates time for officers, the time will be spent on those other property projects, so there will be no increase in cost. It's a good job I can't come back to the first one.
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask Councillor Foster for his question, please?
The leader and other councillors will be aware of the questions which I asked previously pollution damages from the chemicals getting into the lung via the complex small molecules and extremely small particulates from the exhaust fumes of modern diesel engines, which the global automotive industry is not yet properly woken up to. As of Sunday last, the Mayor of Paris announced radical plans to ban all diesel engine vehicles from Paris before 2020. The London Mayor has now announced a similar programme to be completed in a slightly longer period of about 10 years, with some interim measures. In Britain, today, about 29,000 premature deaths per year are blamed on this type of air pollution. My question originally was to the I only expect a yes or no answer to this question. Will the leader now begin to take these matters seriously and to make efforts with officers and especially outside experts to change the proposed forward borough plan on an urgent basis to take the planned continued flow of through traffic away from our residential areas to improve the
Western Relief Road.
We'll go to the portfolio holder, please. Councillor Lloyd.
The council takes air quality very seriously.
No, you don't.
That is why officers have already commissioned an independent expert to examine the effects of air quality of our proposals.
Why did you miss it off the top?
Thank you, Councillor. Can I ask Councillor Wilson this question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Residents in Whitestone, all I represent, collected the largest petition in the borough looking at the borough plan. Similar petitions and responses in large droves were received by this council almost a year and a half ago, and yet thousands of people have even received the courtesy of a full reply from this council. Could the portfolio holder enlighten residents and councillors alike as to when we will receive a proper response to the consultation?
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lloyd.
All of their consultation responses have been published on the council's website. The council has considered all of the responses carefully and is currently discussing them with the Borough Plan Working Party. Residents will be informed of the results when the draft Borough Plan is published. If you sat on it, the street is available for you. You'd have had that information, like the rest of them would, but you refuse to sit on the working party, don't you? You can tag it, but you refuse to sit on it. You get all that information.
You choose to ignore us.
Make it a question, not a statement.
It is a question, Mr. Mayor, and I won't go on about the misapprehension.
No, you aren't.
Well said.
But given the fact that Councillor Lloyd has previously said tonight, in fact, that the borough plan is the priority for this council, could he explain then why £59,000 was cut from the borough plan budget last year, when an additional planning policy officer, which could have helped speed up these matters, cost £37,000 a year?
To answer such a question off the top of the head, on finance, you have to be very careful how you reply. So therefore, I will have that sent to you in a letter form.
So we don't see it.
It's your money.
Well, that's it. So
Let's move on now to item 8, which is special urgent decisions. I'm informed there have been no decisions taken as a special urgency rule. So I'm going to move on now to item 9, which is the report from the Cabinet by the Leader of the Council, which is attached to the agenda. And can I ask the Leader of the Council to present his report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, as it stated, the report covers the Cabinet meetings of the 1st of October, 29th of October and the 5th of November, and there is always a slight delay because of the publishing of services going for our residents. Since the day one of the installation of this disastrous coalition government, this county...
Politics again.
Yeah, stop wasting money.
If I could
Can we
continue...
just allow the speaker to speak, please?
Please speak politics out of it.
I don't know whether you're aware this is a political arena, so please bear with us.
I will not apologise, Mr Mayor, for talking politics, because it is politics that has brought the problem to this borough and boroughs around this country, who are having difficulty in maintaining services because of the disastrous cuts that have been made to local council budgets, such as ours, while simultaneous tax cuts are being made for the very rich.
As a result
And
of
a
the past
miscount.
government.
And a misspending of our money.
If you want to join in the debate, can I suggest that you stand for election?
We will do. We will do. We're sick of you lot.
It's the best way of doing it.
Politics
In
out
the
of it.
meantime, can you please allow the speakers to finish what they're saying? Thank you.
Is that an offer for everyone to stand down and start a whole new set of local by-elections?
Yeah, please do. Get rid of these muppets.
I'm going to ask you again to allow the speakers to finish speaking. If you're not prepared to do that, I'll be asking you to leave. Okay? Thank you. Carry on.
Mr Mayor, as item 3A refers, in terms of the financial plan 2014 to 18, savings of 2.6 million are required over the life of the plan. Considering this authority only receives 13% of all council tax collected in this borough, this is an enormous amount for us to save. So far we have managed, without massive redundancies or losses in services, to maintain our services, which cannot be said in many other areas, because we have looked at things which are non-essential and we have worked very hard with officers to do this. We have learned in detail that the savings of nearly £1 million have already been identified for 2015-16. We are still over £200,000 short, and that will be dealt with in the coming months in terms of balancing the budget for 2015-16. And then we, of course, have the following year even more massive savings to make, Mr Mayor. I will also refer to the point further along, which talks about the sort of savings that we've made over this year, and we have been very lucky in terms of the saving we made in retendering the contract for leisure facilities with the similar specification, so we've lost no service levels, but we have in fact gained a large amount of money in the amount of the tender, and we have removed some vacant posts, and that means, Mr Mayor, that many of our staff are now actually working extremely hard doing what 2 or 3 people did previously. We will continue to work on this budget process in the coming months. We do want to ensure a balanced budget, and our main aim is to make sure that services are continued. This is not an authority as some others, where we see junketing left, right and centre. It never has been, but we are very careful in the way we spend other people's money, Mr Mayor, and the way we spend other people's money is on services, and that is what we shall continue to do. I just do want to point out, Mr Mayor, that in spite of long negotiations for the change in the future management and operation of Eton Sports Centre, which would have effectively saved us £70,000 a year, but have kept the same level of service running, that has now been pulled out of by the academy there, so that in fact that is another amount of money,